Urbex is the spirit of the Northwest. You and I will travel and go on adventures together. There's nothing like the Northwest. You and I will experience new things together. There's nothing like the Northwest. And it can be found here on PNWURBEX. PNWURBEX is spirit of the Northwest.
Welcome to Pacific Northwest Urbex. Today you and I are going to take 3 different tours of the Sears located in Union Gap, Washington. By this time the Sears store has been closed and has undergone some remodeling on the interior. As you can see here on the lower left hand of the screen, this was filmed back on July 2nd, 2023. What we'll do is we'll take a tour of the outside of the store, then we'll go inside the mall, see what they've done to the front of the store inside the mall, and then we'll take a look through the windows and see if we can see anything. As you can see, they removed the Auto Center sign that had been removed sometime prior to them actually shutting down. The store is pretty desolate, so is the parking lot. I didn't see anybody around except for security, but as soon as we finish the outside tour, let's go ahead and take a look inside. One thing funny is that sign up there and the one on the inside of the mall is actually now in my shop. I was lucky to find an antique dealer that was able to save them, and I purchased them from him. So as you can see, they can have a sign here that says coming soon. So they're going to be getting ready for the reopening of this Sears store. Well, let's head inside the mall and see if we can see anything there. I believe there was retailers there on the left-hand side before the Mexican restaurant went in, and on the right-hand side is actually the Sears store. Well, should say former Sears store. But let's go ahead and take a look and see what we can see here. Well, looks like they built another temporary wall with a doorway entrance into the Sears store. I don't know, I mean, I kind of get mixed feelings on it. It seems like kind of like a waste of money when they're going to be reopening. But at the same time, I can understand the mall itself probably didn't want to showcase a closed Sears store. But now we're back outside and we can see that they have some open signs here, or coming soon signs. But let's go ahead and take a look. Now everything's all taped up, but we can get around that. As we can see, it's pretty emptied out. Doesn't really look like they've done much of anything except for some painting there. As you can see there, that's tarped off there on the bottom of the column. So like I said in previous videos, they're just basically going to be painting the store, do a little light construction work. Nothing really major. There's the old Sears Auto Center. So here we are back in for another visit back in September 30th of 2023. So you can see now there's a bunch of merchandise being brought in and set up in certain areas. Obviously not ready for customers, but they're definitely getting ready. And I mentioned about appliances before. They're bringing their appliances back. You can see there lots of boxes of appliances being brought in. And some new displays being set up there. So as you can see, there's a lot to unbox there, but you know, they in a couple months they'll be having their grand reopening. So here we are in November of 2023. They've already had their grand reopening, so let's walk around and see what we can find. So as goofy as it seems, as we walk around, you're going to see new signage, a lot of rediscover Sears, a lot of welcome to the grand reopening. And basically the layout is kind of the same. Mattresses are in the same place, appliances are in the same place, hardware, soft lines, apparel, for the most part. Some area departments have been kind of swapped around, but we'll go ahead and walk through. And, you know, I've noticed in some past discussions, people have wondered, how does Sears distribution work? You know, obviously when there was many Sears stores, there was distribution centers in every region of the United States. And as they've kind of shut down most of their stores, how do they work out that distribution, their purchasing, and everything like that? Well, a little bit later in this video, I'm going to show you what I think the answer is to that. You know, I've heard a lot of people say, well, each individual store has their own purchasing power, or they purchase for everyone at the corporate level. You know, that was kind of the case in both cases over many decades. But as you can see here in the auto center, it's now seasonal. But we're going to come back to this seasonal area. I'm going to show you something that I found that I think you'll find a little interesting. You know, we're going to see some camping gear here, some sporting goods. I think last time Sears actually probably has carried a football has been probably decades. A lot of stuff they have just kind of fill in space. A lot of outdoor chairs. You know, you can obviously see there's a lot of open area. I think they just kind of did the best that they could with the amount of product. They definitely have a lot more craftsmen in here compared to probably at least even a year prior to them closing down the first time. But we'll take a walk through here, and we're going to just kind of wander through the whole store, see what they do or don't have. No, we're not going to really focus in on too much on just one little area, but hope you enjoy this video and the visit as we walk through. I do want to apologize for a little bit of the camera tilt here and there. I think I was still probably kind of getting used to this camera and the settings on it. As we walk through, it's, you know, you can see everything's still kind of spaced out pretty far. I feel like they did a pretty good job in stocking the store for what they were able to do. Just one thing about the products, though, for the most part, I mean, besides the Die Hard and the Craftsman, that's really the kind of the only products that they used to carry that they actually are carrying this time during their grand opening. For the most part, all of these brand names and all of the clothing, shoes, in pretty much every department, for the most part, are just kind of lower in garbage, really. Just cheaply made. With the exception of like those footballs. I think those were Wilson footballs. I mean, those seem pretty decent, but for the most part, everything else, it's just kind of, I tell you the truth, I think you're going to get a better buy in quality even at Walmart. And Walmart's kind of one of the cheapest around, but we'll go ahead and continue to walk through. And as usual, the women's soft lines are much more abundant compared to men's apparel. There was a men's apparel section, but it was pretty limited. Obviously, most of their people that are purchasing their clothing is primarily women. Into the shoe department. These are all Die Hard shoes. I was actually surprised to see them bring a bunch of those back. I was personally happy to see that. I think I probably picked up another pair of Die Hard work boots while I was there. The shoe department overall had been greatly reduced. I think it was probably maybe half or maybe only a third of what it once was. Probably even less than that. They removed a lot of the aisleways. But we'll go ahead and continue to walk around. Straight up ahead, you're going to see some swinging doors there in a wall. That was built after the last closing. That used to house the Sears optical and the Sears portrait studios. And I believe there might have been a hearing aid department back in that section. No, was glassed off, and you have to go back and look at my last video, but was glassed off and it had an opening and Sears on the label right there. Be right there on the right hand side. They're obviously using that probably as a stock room. So I don't really know why they just didn't kind of just close that off like they did before. Some of the efforts that went into this reopening, such as the painting and all the new signage and everything, I don't know, it seemed kind of goofy to me and a waste of time on their part. But it's their store, so obviously they're going to do what they want to do. Now, where the Craftsman tools were before and part of the hardware department is now a toy store, or the toy department. Overall, I'd have to say, as I said before, they were kind of buying cheap products. For the most part, I mean, I did see some Hot Wheels, but for the most part, in most of these toys, they were just kind of cheap, very cheap made toys. They weren't really that great of quality. I wish I had time to kind of just sit there and show you individual products, but it is a large store and trying not to make the video multiple hours long. But we'll go ahead and take a look here, and then we're going to head back into the seasonal department. So as we walk through the seasonal department here you can see they have a Sears Home Services sign, which seems kind of weird they'd have that in the seasonal department. But as I mentioned earlier about the distribution of how Sears was getting products, since all their distribution centers were gone, if you take a look here at this return label, it says KMS on it. Now, if you Google KMS, basically KMS is a wholesale distribution for buying and selling products. And I believe what was going on, and if you have any other knowledge or better knowledge than I do, and you work for Sears, feel free to leave a comment down in the comment section down below. But I believe what was going on is each Sears, since they were so spread out and so few, that each store had their own buying power of a certain dollar amount. And what they would do is they would order a wide variety of products from KMS, and then KMS would directly ship to this store. Now, from what I can see, besides the appliances, besides the Sears Craftsman tools, well, no longer from Sears, it's owned by Black & Decker, but and the Die Hard shoes, but pretty much everything else was coming from KMS directly. Like I said, the products were just really poor, cheaply made, and I think that's what they were doing. They were just, that was their replacement for their distribution. Back in, and I don't know if how many people know this, but Sears at one time owned a company called Innovel Solutions, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And basically it was formerly Sears Logistics. And basically it's a third-party logistics company that they sold to Costco back in 2020 for $1 billion. And basically it's to control what they call quote-unquote final mile, delivery and installation of bulky items of appliances and furniture. The acquisition bought from Sears established the delivery network and fulfillment centers and skilled workforce to Costco, basically enhancing Costco's ability to manage a complex and kind of like what they say, a white glove delivery service. So I think back in 2020 is about the time when they were starting to lose or shut down a lot of their distribution centers. Like I say, I could be wrong. If you have better knowledge than I do, feel free to leave a comment down in the comment section. It'd be great to hear from you. Now we're going to be entering the department of storage containers. I think they just kind of bought this products for filling in space. It seems really odd and weird. I just don't see a lot of people coming to Sears specifically to just, yes, can you please show me your storage container department? But I don't know. It seems, like I said, it seems kind of weird. It's just, I think it's just something to fill in space. Here's one of those rediscover Sears sign that they had basically throughout. It's just, obviously they're doing this, like I mentioned in the last video. They have a contractual obligation to keeping the store open for a certain period of time. And I'm not really sure why you'd go back and repaint and all that. Just seems like wasted effort. The store actually, when I was there, had less customers in it than they did prior to them closing. I don't think the word was really out that they were kind of reopened yet. All it did was hurt more business. You can see there it says welcome back. Come see what's in store. Obviously they had different products somewhat from the last time they were open as far as clothing or something. But we'll go ahead and walk around a little bit more. How's it going? Well, I think that's going to be a wrap. I think we've seen majority of what this Sears store has to offer in this visit. You know what? I really do want to thank you for coming with me today. I really do appreciate it. Make sure you have a great week. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.